What's going on, CrossFit Federal Way? It is Saturday, and if you aren't tuning into our Zoom class this morning, then don't worry, we got your back. Now, our workout today is pretty simple, but don't underestimate it. Even if you're scaling it or doing a modified version because you don't have the equipment to do the original workout, this one gets really spicy. So, trust me when I say that it looks deceptive. But what we are doing, guys, we are going back and we are doing open workout 19.1. 19.1, if you weren't there for it, or if you don't remember it, is 19 calories on the rower, 19 wall balls, 20 pounds for the guys, 14 pounds for the gals. You're going back and forth on that as many times as you can in 15 minutes. So rounds and reps in 15 minutes is going to be what we're shooting for. Now, I realize that with these at-home workouts and all that sort of stuff, that a lot of us don't have a rower. Some do, but we don't have that many rowers, so only a handful of people ended up with a rower before they were all gone. And not all of us have a med ball as well. So I want to talk about our options of what we can do in place of this. And what I'm going to suggest for a lot of us is going to be that we set up something like this. So instead of 19 calorie row, which this is roughly about a minute worth of work, depending on the athlete. But if we look at it as a minute worth of work of something that's a steady state cardio, what I'm gonna look at then is replacing that with a 200-meter run. Yeah, I know, we're gonna all have to get really used to doing some running outside when it's a little colder or wet or possibly rainy or windy or anything else like that. But if our intention over these coming weeks with this shutdown is to stay consistent, suck it up. Get out the door, put on a rain jacket, do the best thing, the best that you can. You don't have to run fast, but do it anyway because you're gonna feel better about yourself afterwards. At least that's what I tell myself. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. So we're gonna go do a 200-meter run, and then we're doing 19 goblet squats, which we'll talk about here in a moment, in place of the wall balls, especially if, let's say I have a med ball, but I don't have a good place to throw a wall ball 9 feet or 10 feet up in the air, because maybe the siding of my house doesn't like that. Maybe I don't have a tall roof or tall ceilings in my garage. The point here is do the best you can. If you're doing wall balls and you have a 7-foot ceiling, wow, that would be a really short ceiling, an 8-foot ceiling, and you're throwing that wall ball as high as you can get it, that's totally okay. So just do the best with what you're given, work really hard, and you're gonna be fine. So let's talk a little bit about this. Now the rower, I won't go over rowing for calories because one, there's only a couple rowers left in the gym, and two, not everybody has them. So the athletes that do have rowers know how to row already, so I don't need to cover the standards there. But we'll talk about wall balls, and then we'll talk about our goblet squats. So let's transition over to the wall. We'll talk about the wall ball itself. So again, in a perfect world, I'm gonna have a 10-foot target or a 9-foot target. Now, maybe, the top of this, that 7.5, I think 7.5 foot mark or something like that, maybe whatever. The top of here might be as high as my ceiling in my garage is. So do I have to throw my med ball super high to have it be a legit wall ball? No. Under normal training circumstances, yes. Under current training circumstances, totally okay to do the best you can. So, big things we're looking at on the wall ball is with that med ball in the front rack position, I'm gonna squat below parallel. So I am looking for that hip crease to be below the top of my knee, at which point I'm gonna come back up and throw the med ball up to my target. Now, if I was shooting for a 10-foot target, I'm gonna get that med ball nice and high. Now, if I'm limited by my ceilings, again, the example, let's use the bottom of the, let's say this wooden piece here is as high as I can get it. I want you to still work on depth and still work on tossing that med ball, but only get it as high as you can while still being able to cycle those reps. So, coming down, a gentle toss of that med ball, and then keep moving. Is it a little easier? It's a little easier. Is it still gonna get spicy? Absolutely. Now, if I don't have a med ball and I don't have something to throw, we're gonna use goblet squats instead. So I have a kettlebell over here to use as an example for that. So the goblet squat, now this can be done with a slam ball, with a med ball, with a dumbbell, with a kettlebell. We can be done with a plate. We can be done with an empty barbell. You can do front squats instead. Lots of things that you can move and shift, different implements that you can use. It can be a bag of rice for all you know. So with that goblet squat, the big thing here is mimicking that front rack position. So I'm holding on to my kettlebell in the front rack. I'm then squatting down to depth and back up to full extension. So it's just a way of introducing a little bit of load to simulate that same sort of front squat motion with the med ball without having to toss something up in the air. Now you could do a thruster instead. You could do something where I don't know, this might be really awkward with the kettlebell. Could I add a press to the top? I could. A little weird with a small implement. But if I really want to get that same feeling of throwing that med ball, I can do that. If I have a barbell, an empty bar, and doing thrusters would be a really gross way to do this workout. But can you do it? Absolutely. So if you have something where you can get that press involved and turn it into a thruster, will that more closely simulate a wall ball? Probably. Will it be harder? Yeah. But will you get a good workout either way? Of course you will. So while there's not that much to cover there, guys, I want you to think about if you're newer to this and you're still working on depth, you're still working on mobility, your squats aren't perfect, do the best you can. Just give me your best effort. That's all I'd ever ask as a coach to an athlete anyway. Are we working towards striving at having those movements look perfect? Of course we are. But in any given circumstance, whether it's in the gym or outside the gym, all I want is your best effort. So let's look back at the board and let's just go back over this one more time. So open 19.1, 19 calories on the row, 19 wall balls, however many rounds and reps you can get in 15 minutes. Again, if I don't have a rower or a med ball, best suggestion is a scale version or a modification of this to meet what you have and to meet your needs at home. 200-meter run in place of that 19 calorie row, 19 goblet squats, or again, could be a thruster, could be any form of a squat with some sort of load in the frontal plane of the body. If you want to add that press, go for it. If you don't have an implement where it feels comfortable to do that, you don't have to. Just doing that goblet squat up and down will be more than enough. So that is what we are getting ourselves into today. This one's going to be one that gets mental really fast because it's a couplet, so we've only got those 2 movements. I want you guys to settle in. Focus on just knocking out that set that you're on, or that run that you're on, or that row that you're on. Don't think about how much time you have left. Don't think about how much work is ahead of you. Just stay steady, stay consistent, and I promise you, you won't feel cheated at the end of 15 minutes. So that's what we're getting ourselves into. Should be a doozy today. And with that, guys, let's get after it.